What's up, moviegoers? Welcome to the Marchio podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. In today's episode, I'm talking about Hellraiser 8, Hellworld, or just titled Hellraiser, Hellworld. It's directed by Rick Boder, who directed the previous two Hellraiser movies, and this movie stars Lance Henriksen, who you may know in the Alien movies, the Predator movies, and the Terminator movies. Doug Bradley does return once again as Pinhead. Here's the catch. It's his final role as Pinhead. And after this movie, Doug Bradley did not reprise his role anymore in any Hellraiser movie after this. Now, the film introduces a circle of young teenagers who are addicted to playing a video game called Hellworld, which is an online computer game based on the Hellraiser movie series. Basically, the story starts out where one of the friends was so involved with the game that he was so immersed with it that he took his own life. And the remaining 5 friends blame themselves for not having prevented the death of their friend. Now, basically, Lance Henriksen plays the host of this computer game, so to speak. And he offers them drinks and shows them around the mansion. And basically, this mansion was a former convent and asylum that was also built by Philip Lemonchard. Yes, Philip Lemonchard, the creator of the Le Mans configuration. Now, another big Cenobite that appears in this is Chatterer. Chatterer reappears in the 8th Hellraiser movie alongside Pinhead. It was great to see these two together again. And while the Chatterer and Pinhead are in this, another new Cenobite, Bound, is also introduced in this movie. This movie was a little bit slightly better than the 7th movie. Not by a whole lot, though. It wasn't that good by a whole lot. The 7th movie was released straight to video in June of 2005, and this 8th installment was released in September of 2005. So basically just 3 months apart, and this movie is only 95 minutes long. And it's interesting because, you don't really see movies like that being released so quickly. And seeing this movie take a turn for the internet and introducing the internet in a Hellraiser movie and being a computer game based on all of the Hellraiser film series and how it's connected to the Le Mans configuration, Philip Lemonchard, Pinhead, the Cenobites, Chatterer. It's just weird and different. And the good thing about this movie is that we actually see an interaction between Lance Henriksen and Doug Bradley. And it's good to see that because these two are great actors, and seeing them interact in a Hellraiser movie is really good. I just wish that Lance Henriksen was in previous Hellraiser movies. Now here's a little bit of fun fact for you. Lance Henriksen had originally been approached to play the role of Frank Cotton in the first movie, Hellraiser. So he was going to play Christy Cotton's father. However, he turned the offer down in favor of starring role in the vampire thriller Near Dark in 1987. Now, basically, Lance Henriksen's role as the host in Hellraiser Hellworld is his only appearance in the series to date. So that goes to show you that he would have been Frank Cotton in the very first movie, and he would have had an confrontation with Pinhead in that one. So it goes to show that, wow, things like, is it fate or whatever, because he was meant to be in that first movie, and so many years later, he's in, close to 18 years later, he's in the 8th movie. Now, the interesting thing about this was that, of course, it had horrible production, and it was marred by terrible production timing. It was filmed back-to-back with the 7th movie, and the movie received huge negative responses by critics who just panned the movie and, wasn't that good, but certain, film critics loved it. Some people even calling it the most abysmal Hellraiser film in the franchise and not making any sense. And basically, this movie was supposed to be shot with the 7th movie alongside a 9th movie. So, feels like 7, 8, and 9 were supposed to be its own trilogy of movies, but that never came to fruition, which is a very good thing. Because this movie just lacked scare, lacked the word horror, even though it is considered a horror movie. And anything after a third entry or a second entry into a horror franchise, the movies just go downhill. They become less scary. They become more comical. And even though over the course of these 8 movies that featured Doug Bradley as Pinhead, the comical aspect was never there. Pinhead was never a comical character. He was always serious. He didn't give a shit, and it showed. And he's one of those characters in horror where you actually can say that, wow, he's the one that never went that comical route. He was sarcastic, yes, and he knew what to say and how to say it. And he did the dirty work himself, you know. Even though he made a deal with Kirsty twice in the franchise of movies, you know, it's different. You could say that, you know, he had a soft spot for Kirsty because she knew how to manipulate Pinhead. And nobody knew how to manipulate Pinhead. And I don't think Pinhead even knew that he was being manipulated by Kirsty. I'm pretty sure he knew he was, but, you know, it's Pinhead. You can't mess with Pinhead. He's one of the most iconic horror icons ever. And to see Doug Bradley play this role 8 times in 8 movies was fantastic and tremendous. I would say that it's a bad way to go because this movie was horrible. And I'd say bring him back in another movie, you know, just to freshen things up a little bit. And, you know, we get to see him as that role one more time before he officially retires from acting. Doug Bradley as Pinhead, the lead Cenobite, is iconic. He is the one that made these movies worth watching. And if he left, let's just say that if Doug Bradley left in the role of Pinhead, say after the 3rd movie and someone else took over the role, some other big Hollywood actor or a B-movie actor, these series wouldn't be the same. 4 through 8 would be horrible movies. They could be considered the worst horror movies of all time. But Doug Bradley kept the pace going in every single movie. In 8 movies. 8 movies. You really don't see that a lot. And I really commend him for doing that and sticking with everything, going through all these horrible productions and sitting there and, you know, just doing his thing and loving what he does. And let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Hellraiser Hellworld. And if you checked it out, what did you think of it? And if you haven't checked it out, will you be checking it out? I mean, come on, it's the final role that Doug Bradley appeared in as the role of Pinhead, the lead Cenobite. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people will check this out just to see how it ends and, you know, what happens. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos and new podcast episodes on the Marchio Productions YouTube page. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, your host, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. And follow the Marchio Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You can check it out and follow along. All right, everyone, that does it for today's episode. I'm your host, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome